Welcome back to Simple Mind Space, the podcast where we unravel the secrets of mastering your money and your mind. Today, we're diving deep into the art of reading people, a skill that can transform your relationships, your career, and your overall understanding of human nature. Have you ever felt like you're surrounded by actors, people wearing masks, pretending to be something they're not? I know I have. It's like everyone's putting on a show, and sometimes it's hard to tell what's real and what's not. But here's the good news. You don't have to be fooled by appearances. Just like a detective deciphering clues, you can learn to read between the lines, to see through the act and understand the real motivations, fears, and desires that drive people's actions. And the best part? You don't need any special powers, just keen observation and a willingness to understand the subtle cues that people often unknowingly reveal. Over the years, I've come across several techniques that have been incredibly helpful in understanding the people around me, and today I want to share 6 of them with you. These aren't about manipulation or taking advantage. They're about building genuine connections, navigating difficult conversations with grace, and ultimately becoming a better, more insightful version of yourself. So let's dive in. Number 1, the Tell Me More technique. Imagine having a superpower that allows you to unlock anyone's deepest thoughts and feelings without them even realizing you're doing it. That's the power of the Tell Me More technique. This isn't about fancy mind tricks. It's about mastering the art of listening, truly listening, and creating a space where people feel safe enough to reveal their true selves. Here's how it works. The next time you're in a conversation and someone is passionately explaining their side of the story, resist the urge to jump in with your opinion or counter-argument. Instead, simply smile, nod, and say these 3 magic words. Tell me more. I stumbled upon this technique during a rather heated debate with a friend about, of all things, pineapple on pizza. We were both ready to defend our positions to the death, but something in me shifted, and instead of arguing, I just said, tell me more. And what happened next was incredible. My friend, initially focused on the pizza topping, started sharing childhood memories about family dinners, the foods they loved and hated, even a hilarious anecdote about a traumatic pineapple incident from their youth. It wasn't about pizza anymore. It was a window into their world, their experiences, their values. And all it took were those 3 little words. You see, when people feel truly heard, their defenses drop. They no longer feel the need to argue or protect their point of view. Instead, they open up, sharing more than they ever intended. It's not about manipulation. It's about creating a safe space for vulnerability, for genuine connection. I've used this technique countless times, in business negotiations, heated discussions with loved ones, even with people who seemed determined to be difficult. And time again, it's been remarkable how effective it is. During a particularly tense negotiation, instead of pushing my agenda, I simply kept saying, tell me more. By the end of the conversation, the other party had practically revealed their entire strategy, their motivations, their weaknesses. They thought they were just explaining their position, but in reality, they were handing me the keys to the kingdom. But here's the thing. The Tell Me More technique isn't just about getting ahead or winning arguments. It's about connecting with people on a deeper level, understanding their perspectives, and building trust in a world that often feels transactional and superficial. This approach is deeply rooted in Stoic philosophy, particularly the concept of empathy without attachment. You're not trying to control the conversation. You're simply observing, listening, and seeking to understand. It's not about manipulation. It's about genuine curiosity and a willingness to see the world through someone else's eyes. So, the next time you're in a conversation, whether it's a casual chat, a heated debate, or a high-stakes negotiation, remember the power of those 3 little words. Tell me more. You'll be amazed at how much deeper your conversations become, how much more you learn about the people around you, and how much stronger your relationships can be. 2, observe how they treat people in lesser positions. This next principle might be a bit uncomfortable to confront, but it's crucial if you truly want to understand someone's character. It's about looking beyond the facade, beyond the carefully crafted persona, and observing how someone treats people they perceive as being in a lesser position than themselves. It's a sad truth about human nature that we often reserve our best behavior for those we deem important, those who can offer us something in return. But it's in those unguarded moments, when someone thinks no one's watching, that their true character shines through. I learned this lesson the hard way early in my career. I used to work with someone who, on the surface, seemed like the nicest person in the world. Charming, funny, always respectful, especially in meetings or social settings where appearances mattered. But then one day, we went out to lunch, and I saw a completely different side of this person. The moment we sat down, they became incredibly rude to the waiter, barking orders like they were royalty and the server was beneath them. It was shocking, the way their entire demeanor shifted from friendly and warm to dismissive and arrogant. It was a wake-up call for me, a stark reminder that how someone treats those with less power speaks volumes about who they truly are. Think about it. If someone is willing to be condescending to a waiter, a cashier, or a colleague they consider lower on the totem pole, it's a clear indication of their underlying values. They're demonstrating a lack of respect for others, a sense of entitlement, and a belief that certain people are simply not worthy of their kindness. And this behavior, unfortunately, rarely stays confined to these seemingly insignificant interactions. The person who is rude to the waiter is likely to exhibit that same arrogance and lack of respect in other areas of their life, whether they realize it or not. It might be less obvious, more subtle, but it will be there, lurking beneath the surface. Stoicism teaches us to observe human behavior objectively, without judgment, but it also emphasizes the importance of recognizing red flags. And this behavior, treating those with less power poorly, is a major red flag. When someone believes they can get away with treating others poorly, when there's no social consequence for their actions, that's when their true colors come shining through. They might be perfectly charming when they need something from you, but the moment they feel they have the upper hand, their true nature emerges. This principle has become a sort of silent test for me in all my relationships, personal and professional. I pay close attention to how people treat those around them, especially those in service positions. Do they say thank you to the bus driver? Are they patient with the cashier who's having a tough day? Do they treat everyone with basic human dignity and respect, regardless of their status? These small acts of kindness might seem insignificant, but they reveal more about a person's character than any grand gesture ever could. And on the flip side, if someone is consistently rude, dismissive, or condescending to those they perceive as being beneath them, that's a major red flag. It's a sign that their kindness is conditional, their respect is superficial, and their true character is something to be wary of. Here's a deeper layer to consider. How we treat others is often a reflection of how we see ourselves. People who are secure in themselves, who genuinely value kindness and respect, tend to treat everyone with dignity, regardless of their social standing. But those who are constantly putting others down, belittling those around them, are often projecting their own insecurities onto the world. They're trying to elevate themselves by diminishing others, a clear sign of inner turmoil and a lack of self-awareness. So the next time you're trying to get a read on someone, don't just focus on how they treat you or how they behave in public settings. Pay close attention to how they treat those they perceive as having less power. Do they show kindness and respect, or do they reveal a darker side, a sense of entitlement and superiority? Their actions, especially in those unguarded moments, will speak volumes about their true character. 3. Their past is the key to their present. We've all heard the saying, the past is in the past, but the truth is, our past experiences, for better or worse, shape who we are today. Our childhoods, our relationships, our triumphs, and our heartbreaks. They all leave their mark, influencing our thoughts, our behaviors, and how we interact with the world around us. This isn't about excusing bad behavior or saying people can't change. It's about understanding that we don't enter the present moment as blank slates. We carry our history with us, and sometimes that history holds the key to understanding why someone acts the way they do. I had a close friend who always seemed to be on edge, overly defensive, quick to anger, and incredibly cautious in relationships. It wasn't constant, but there were patterns in their behavior that were hard to ignore. As I got to know them better, I learned about their past. A childhood filled with instability, betrayals by people they trusted, and a constant struggle for financial security. Suddenly, their defensiveness and anxiety made sense. It wasn't random. It was a direct result of their past experiences, a way of protecting themselves from being hurt again. When we experience trauma, heartbreak, or even just consistent negativity, it leaves a mark on our psyche. It shapes our beliefs about ourselves, about others, and about the world around us. Someone who grew up feeling neglected might crave constant attention as an adult. Someone who's been burned in a business partnership might be hesitant to collaborate in the future. The list goes on. The point is, people's past experiences, especially those that were particularly painful or challenging, often create subconscious patterns that play out in their present-day lives. They might not even be aware of it, but their reactions, their decisions, even their seemingly irrational fears often stem from unresolved issues from their past. Stoicism emphasizes the importance of looking at things as they are, without judgment. And understanding someone's past, their wounds, their triumphs, is an essential part of seeing them clearly. It's not about making excuses for their behavior, but about recognizing that their actions are often driven by deeper subconscious forces that they might not even be fully aware of. This principle is incredibly valuable in romantic relationships as well. Have you ever dated someone who seemed great at first, but then certain patterns started to emerge? Maybe they were overly jealous, struggled with commitment, or sabotaged the relationship before it could get too serious. More often than not, if you dig a little deeper, you'll find that their past relationships, their childhood experiences, or even their family dynamics have left them with unresolved wounds that are impacting their present-day behavior. It's not about accepting toxic behavior. It's about recognizing that sometimes people are reacting to the echoes of their past, reliving painful patterns, even when they desperately want to break free. Here's the tricky part. People often live their lives stuck in these cycles, repeating the same mistakes, making the same choices, without ever realizing that their past is holding them hostage. The coworker who constantly seeks validation, the friend who self-sabotages every relationship, the partner who pushes away anyone who gets too close, they're often trapped, reliving past traumas, reacting to old wounds that never had a chance to heal. But here's the hopeful part. When you understand the power of the past, you can start to see these patterns not as character flaws, but as opportunities for growth and healing. You can approach people with more empathy, recognizing that their behavior might be driven by forces beyond their conscious control. And if the relationship is strong enough and both parties are open to it, you can even help them start to unpack these patterns, to understand the root causes of their behavior, and to begin the journey of healing old wounds and breaking free from the past. Remember, understanding someone's past doesn't mean condoning their negative actions. It's about gaining clarity, about seeing the full picture, and approaching the relationship with compassion and wisdom. 4. Sudden changes in tone signal lies or hesitation. Our voices are incredibly revealing. They betray our emotions, our intentions, and even our subconscious thoughts. And one of the biggest giveaways that someone is lying, hiding something, or feeling uncomfortable is a sudden change in their tone of voice. Think about it. When someone is speaking confidently and truthfully, their tone is usually steady, their pace even, and their words flow naturally. But when there's a lie, a hesitation, or even just an uncomfortable truth they're trying to avoid, things tend to shift. It might be subtle, a slight crack in their voice, a hesitation that wasn't there before, or a sudden shift in pitch. It's like their subconscious is trying to send up a red flag, hoping you'll notice that something isn't quite right. I once worked with someone who was a master of smooth talking. He always knew exactly what to say, and he delivered it with such confidence and charisma that it was hard to imagine him ever being anything less than completely genuine. But then, one day, we were discussing a project deadline, and something changed. His usually upbeat, confident tone suddenly dropped. His words came out slower, almost a stutter, and there was a noticeable hesitation in his voice. It was such a stark contrast to his usual demeanor that I immediately knew something was off. And sure enough, it turned out he hadn't even started the project yet and was trying to cover it up. That shift in his tone, that subtle crack in his facade, was all the confirmation I needed to realize he wasn't being truthful. Here's why this happens. When people lie or feel uncomfortable with what they're saying, their mind and body essentially go into a state of conflict. Their brain is trying to maintain the lie, to project an image of confidence and ease, but their body, specifically their voice, can't help but reflect the stress and discomfort they're feeling internally. Think about the last time you caught someone in a lie. What did their voice sound like? Did they get quieter? Did they start talking faster? Did their voice take on a forced cheerfulness, like they were trying too hard to sound natural? These are all subconscious cues that something isn't right. The shift in tone is their internal struggle, their discomfort with the lie, leaking out in a way they can't control. And here's the thing. This principle isn't just about catching liars. Sudden changes in tone can also signal hesitation, uncertainty, or even a difference of opinion that the person is afraid to express directly. I once had a friend who would get incredibly enthusiastic about plans we made, but the moment I suggested something she wasn't fully on board with, her tone would change instantly. She'd go from excited and bubbly to monotone and hesitant, even if her words were still positive. It was like someone had flipped a switch, and that shift in tone was always my cue that she wasn't being completely honest about her feelings. This happens in all areas of life. Relationships, business deals, even casual conversations with friends and family. You've probably experienced it yourself. That moment when someone goes from upbeat and engaged to defensive or withdrawn, even if their words haven't changed. It's in those moments, when you notice that disconnect between someone's words and their tone, that you need to pay extra close attention. Don't just listen to what they're saying. Listen to how they're saying it. A sudden drop in energy, a shift in pitch, a hesitation that wasn't there before. These can all be subconscious cues that the person is holding back, unsure of themselves, or not being completely truthful. Here's a deeper layer to consider from a Stoic perspective. People often lie not just to deceive others, but to deceive themselves. When you notice that shift in someone's tone, that discomfort in their voice, it's not always because they're maliciously trying to manipulate you. Often, it's because they're struggling with the lie themselves, wrestling with their own conscience, and that internal conflict manifests in their voice, betraying their true feelings. Stoicism teaches us to observe without judgment, to recognize that everyone is fighting their own battles, grappling with their own internal demons. And sometimes, those demons reveal themselves in the most subtle ways. A quiver in the voice, a hesitation in their step, a change in tone that betrays the carefully constructed facade. So the next time you're in a conversation and you notice someone's tone shift unexpectedly, whether it's a sudden drop in energy, an awkward pause, or a change in pitch, don't ignore it. Ask yourself, what are they holding back? What are they uncomfortable with? It might not be a full-blown lie, but there's a good chance they're not telling you the whole truth, and their voice, their tone, is often the first clue. 5. The most honest moments are when they think no one's watching. If you want to truly understand someone, to see past the carefully crafted persona they present to the world, pay close attention to how they behave when they think no one's watching. It's a harsh truth, but often our most authentic selves emerge when we believe we're not being observed, when the pressure to perform, to impress, or to conform fades away. Think about it. When we're in public, we're constantly aware of how we're being perceived. We adjust our behavior, our words, even our body language to fit in, to impress, or to avoid judgment. We present a carefully curated version of ourselves, one that aligns with the image we want to project. But when the spotlight fades, when we think we're off stage, that's when the mask tends to slip. It's in those quiet moments, those seemingly insignificant interactions, that our true colors shine through. I once worked with a manager who was the epitome of professionalism whenever the boss was around. Polite small talk, a calm demeanor, always willing to lend a helping hand. She was the model employee. But the moment our superiors left the office, it it was like a switch flipped. Her demeanor changed instantly. She'd snap at the team, make condescending remarks, and treat everyone with a level of disrespect that was shocking, given her previous demeanor. It was a stark reminder that often, the person someone is when they think no one's watching is a far more accurate reflection of their true character than the persona they present to the world. We see this in all areas of life. The friend who's the life of the party, always cracking jokes and seeking attention, but then becomes aloof and dismissive in one-on-one conversations. The romantic partner who's incredibly attentive and affectionate in public, but then becomes distant and withdrawn in private. These inconsistencies, these shifts in behavior, reveal a fundamental truth about human nature. We are often driven by a desire to be perceived in a certain way, even if that perception doesn't align with who we truly are. From a Stoic perspective, this observation isn't about judgment or condemnation. It's about recognizing the human tendency to seek approval, to crave validation, and to present a polished version of ourselves to the world. Stoicism teaches us to observe without judgment, to recognize that everyone, including ourselves, is on their own journey, grappling with their own internal struggles. But this principle also serves as a powerful reminder of the importance of authenticity. If someone can only be kind, respectful, or generous when they think others are watching, it begs the question, are those qualities truly a part of their character, or are they simply a performance? True character, as Stoicism teaches, isn't about how we act when the spotlight is on us. It's about who we are in the shadows, when no one is around to applaud our good deeds or reprimand our missteps. It's about living in alignment with our values, regardless of who's watching. So, the next time you want to get a true read on someone, pay close attention to those unguarded moments. How do they treat the waiter when they think you're not looking? What's their demeanor like when they're alone, when they think no one is there to judge them? It's in those raw, unfiltered moments that their true character will shine through, revealing far more than their carefully crafted public persona ever could. 6. Emotional reactions reveal priorities. Emotions are powerful indicators of what truly matters to us. We can try to hide them, suppress them, or rationalize them away. But when something triggers a strong emotional response, whether it's joy, anger, fear, or excitement, it's a clear sign that whatever sparked that emotion is deeply connected to our values, our priorities, or our sense of self. I once worked with a colleague who was incredibly calm and collected, almost unflappable. Nothing seemed to faze him. But then one day, during a routine meeting, someone suggested a minor change to one of his projects, and he completely lost it. He raised his voice, argued vehemently against the change, and stormed out of the room, leaving everyone stunned. It was such an uncharacteristic outburst that it took me completely by surprise. It seemed completely out of proportion to the situation. But then, as I thought about it more, I realized his reaction wasn't about the change itself. It was about what that project represented to him. He had poured his heart and soul into it, working tirelessly behind the scenes, and to him, it was more than just a project. It was a reflection of his competence, his creativity, and his dedication. That seemingly insignificant suggestion felt like a personal attack, a threat to his sense of self-worth, and his emotional reaction, however disproportionate it might have seemed, was a clear indication of how deeply he cared about his work. This principle applies to all areas of life. The boss who reacts angrily when you question their decision. It's not just about authority. It's about their need to be right, their fear of appearing incompetent. The friend who gets overly defensive when you point out a flaw. It's not just about the criticism. It's about a deep-seated insecurity they're struggling with. The excitement someone displays when they talk about their hobby or a recent accomplishment. It's not just about the activity itself. It's about their passion, their sense of purpose, their need for recognition. Here's the key. People's strongest emotional reactions, whether positive or negative, are like road signs pointing directly to their deepest priorities, their core values, and the things that matter most to them, even if they'd never admit it out loud. Think about it. We don't usually have strong emotional reactions to things we don't care about. If someone gets incredibly excited about a particular sports team, It's because they're emotionally invested in the outcome. If someone gets incredibly upset about a political issue, it's because they believe it has a direct impact on their life or the lives of those they care about. These emotional reactions, however irrational they might seem on the surface, are windows into someone's internal landscape, revealing their hopes, their fears, and the things they hold most dear. From a Stoic perspective, understanding this principle allows us to approach relationships with greater empathy and compassion. When we recognize that someone's emotional outburst is often driven by deeper, more complex factors than the situation might suggest, we can choose to respond with understanding rather than judgment. We can also use this knowledge to improve our own communication and navigate challenging conversations with greater skill. If we know that a particular topic triggers a strong emotional response in someone, we can approach it with greater sensitivity, choosing our words carefully and creating a space for open, honest dialogue. But here's a deeper layer to consider. Our own emotional reactions are equally revealing. When we find ourselves reacting strongly to something, whether it's a news story, a social media post, or a comment from a loved one, it's an opportunity for self-reflection. Why did that particular thing trigger such a strong response in us? What does it say about our values, our insecurities, or our unfulfilled needs? Stoicism teaches us that by understanding our own emotional reactions, we can gain greater control over them. We can learn to differentiate between emotions that are rooted in our core values and those that are driven by ego, fear, or a desire for external validation. This self-awareness, this ability to observe our own emotional landscape with honesty and clarity, is essential for personal growth and for building stronger, healthier relationships. So the next time you're trying to understand someone, pay close attention to their emotional reactions. What makes them laugh? What makes them angry? What brings them joy? Their emotions are like a compass, pointing directly to their heart, their values, and the things that truly matter to them. And don't forget to turn that same observant eye inwards. Pay attention to your own emotional responses and use those moments as opportunities for self-reflection, growth, and a deeper understanding of the complex, beautiful mess that is the human experience. There you have it. 6 powerful techniques for reading people, for understanding their motivations, their fears, and their desires. Remember, this isn't about manipulation or judgment. It's about building genuine connections, navigating challenging situations with grace, and ultimately becoming a more insightful, empathetic, and authentic version of yourself. If you enjoyed this episode, don't forget to subscribe to Simple Mind Space for more insights on mastering your money and your mind. Until next time, keep exploring, keep growing, and remember, the greatest journey you'll ever take is the journey inward.